Hey guys, Lawrence Burchett with Reality's Edge. I told you last week we were going to start doing like a Bigfoot series, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to start in the Pacific Northwest. Now, the reason we're going to start in the Pacific Northwest is because that's kind of Bigfoot central. The majority of North American Bigfoot encounters or sightings and even evidence are in the Pacific Northwest. Before we get started, though, we're going to start doing something else, and this is going to require some viewer participation. What I would like to do is have you guys start sending me some scary stories, preferably something that you have encountered, possibly whether it been an experience or even a third party story would be fine. I would prefer for it to be true. It doesn't have to be, but if it is not true, just tell me it's fiction. If I like it, it will be. I'll feature it on here. I'm going to start doing one video a week. Kind of creepy pasta stuff, creepy stories, scary stories. If you want to, you can put that in Reality's Edge 514 at gmail.com. I will go ahead and add that at the end of the video here too. That's the email address to send it to. And just in the subject put creepy stories. And I'd like to have them be roughly 5 or 6 minutes long. And we'll just see where we go from there. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Good way to hear experiences if they're true stories. Or I tell you what, if you're an up and coming creative writer, send it in, and if it's a good one and I like it, I'll put it on. No problem. And we'll just go from there. Also, if you're new to the channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell icon so you get notified as to when new videos come out. All right. Moving on. So, like I said, we were going to, start off in the Pacific Northwest for Bigfoot stories. And the reason being is in North America, that's where the majority of them are at, is in the Pacific Northwest. Now, I will say that most cultures around the world have a creature that is a Bigfoot type creature, whether it be the Yeti in like Nepal, Tibet area. Australia has the Yowie. They've got one in Russia. I can't remember the name of it. It's a hard name to pronounce, at least for me and my limited knowledge of pronunciation and what have you. The Pacific Northwest, Northern California, that's where the first video, the Patterson-Gimlin film that we talked about a few weeks back, that was in Northern California, the Pacific Northwest. Also, the Alaskan Killer Bigfoot, that's the Pacific Northwest. The Nahanni Valley's in Northwest Territories. Now, it's not up against the coast, but it's not too far from the coast. I mean, it's bordering kind of right there with the Yukon Territory and British Columbia, kind of right all in there. So, Pacific Northwest. A lot of these sightings, they go back quite a while too. There are stories that go back hundreds of years, literally. And we're going to focus on some, a little newer. First thing I'd like to talk about is Ape Canyon. Now, the reason they call it Ape Canyon is it's in Washington State. It's just kind of southeast of Mount St. Helens, I believe. And there have been multiple sightings of an ape-like creature, or, a Sasquatch type creature, and several of them in the 1920s. Now, in 1924, it was reported that there were a pack of them actually attacked a group of miners. The local authorities, they tried saying it was just a bunch of kids out there messing around, throwing rocks at them, and so on and so forth. The miners these men, yeah, they may have been drinking. Who knows? They may not have known what they was talking about. But for years, there had been sightings of a large hairy ape-like creature, and actually, sightings in that area kept happening until 1980 when Mount St. Helens exploded. Um, Another one, a lot of the tribes in the Pacific Northwest, they they just about every First Nations tribe in the Pacific Northwest, they speak of a creature that has a Bigfoot. It's a Bigfoot like creature or a Sasquatch type creature, and they all refer to them as the same thing, whether it be the wild hairy man of the forest. They all have one common theme, though. They are the keeper of the forest or the keeper of the earth. And for most of them, they're a spiritual type being that they kind of come and go as they please. Uh, and they'll just disappear from time to time. You can be following footprints and they'll disappear just like they weren't even there. And that seems to be a common theme pretty well nationwide. You can have footprints and be tracking them, and all of a sudden they just disappear. Now, it's been said by a couple of people from like the BFRO, the Bigfoot Field Research Organization, that they're just backtracking, stepping back in their tracks. Nah, I don't think so. I think statistically it is impossible to do that without getting a double print with all the dermal ridges and what have you on their feet. But that's just me. What do I know? And a lot of the First Nations people in that area as well, the tribes, not only were they the keeper of the forest or the keeper of the earth, but a lot of them even claimed to have traded with them at different points in time. Traded like goods, like food and stuff like that. Um, in that same area, it's even been claimed of abductions. And we spoke about the missing 411. Now, I'm not so sure what some of the missing 411 cases aren't related to Bigfoot or Sasquatch. I'm going to call him Bigfoot because that's what I've always called it. Like I said, sometimes people have even been abducted, and I I believe that some of the missing 411 are Bigfoot cases. Uh, Hit me up and comment. Tell me what you think about that. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. It's just interesting topic to talk about. There was a guy by the name of Albert Osterman. He was a prospector, and this happened in 1924 as well. And this was up around British Columbia. And he was camping one night, and this man made his living in the wilderness. He was a prospector. That's where his living was made, was in the wilderness. And he was bedded down one night in his bedroll in his sleeping bag, and he said that something reached down, picked him up, threw it over his shoulder, and took off. And he was carried something like 6 miles. And he said it just held on to him. It carried him into an area of a plateau. And when he was set down, he realized that there was more than one captor. There were four of them. And it was a family. He believed it to be a male, a female, and two children. And he was there for 6 days. He was their property, I guess, for lack of a better word, for 6 days. And it was said that they fed him. They didn't attempt to hurt him. They fed him some sweet grass, I think's what he said. And finally, he hatched a plan. The bigger male was interested in his snuff. And he hatched a plan. He fed that big male some of his snuff. Big male got kind of woozy. And that was when he decided to escape. That was how he made his escape. And he said that he ran until he it was said that he ran till he got someplace where he knew where he was at, and he was able to get back to Vancouver, British Columbia. And after that, it said he never left, never went back in the wilderness again. Which I can't say as I really blame the guy. There's also been stories. I might have covered this in the Nahanni Valley video. There are stories also of young girls or young women being taken from First Nations villages in British Columbia, taken and a lot of times never returned. And it was thought that they were being taken to be Bigfoot wives. Uh, if you go back into history, that was actually a pretty common thing in history with man. Uh, a lot of the tribes, they would kidnap women from other tribes. There's a fellow by the name of Thomas Seward. He's a First Nations man from British Columbia. I think he spends part of his time actually living in Washington State, but he believes that Bigfoot are just humans that split off several thousand years ago when man started becoming more worried about possessions and property and stuff. They decided to split off. So his theory is that we are them and they are us. And you know what? That's as good a theory as any. And he's got a lot of good evidence to back it up. Um, so it would make sense that maybe they are sometimes abducting girls or young women from tribes to, you know, to marry them and, have children with them. There was one story that I heard. I actually heard the story from Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio. Dave, I'm not trying to infringe on anything, so if you want me to drop this, I will. Not that you listen, but if you ever do, all credit goes to Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio about a young girl that was abducted from a village up there north of where he lives in British Columbia. And she did return. She was in pretty bad shape health-wise, but she returned pregnant. Now, that's all I've ever heard of that. If anybody has ever heard any more about that story, feel free to comment. Let me know if you've heard any more about that story. Now, I'm sure some of these stories are just crazy, and they don't have any validity to them. But I wasn't there, I wasn't there, neither were you. And if you were there, oh, there you go. But I wasn't there. So I tend to, trust but verify type of thing. I've never walked a mile in your shoes, so how can I say what you're saying is true or not? But guys, I think that's going to do it for today. Like I said, hit the like button if you like today's video. It'll help me out greatly. Pass this on to your friends. If you're a new listener, subscribe. And also, get me some of those stories, guys. We're ready to see about doing something a little bit different in here. Just to get a little more content, something that's a little fun. And get me those scary stories. Like I said, they don't have to be perfectly written out, but it's your story. If it's a fictional story, please let me know. I would prefer some of the more of the true stories. But it doesn't matter. We'll just just let me know what it is one way or the other. Once again, I will put the email address in the credits there, but it is realitiesedge514@gmail.com. And we will just go from there, guys. This is fun, guys. I'm really having a lot of fun here. I hope you guys are too. Do me a favor. Love yourselves. Love each other. Peace out.